Florida State is definitely an ACC title contender.
You are Locked On Seminoles, your daily podcast on the Florida State Seminoles. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back into Locked On Seminoles. I am your host, Brian Smith, longtime college football writer and recruiting analyst. Thank you for making Locked On Seminoles your first listen each and every day here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money and use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Today, we are going to define several different reasons why Florida State is an ACC title contender. That's going to be the theme throughout the show. And I've got 7 points listed with a few extras in stats, schedule, etc. But overall, and the number one thing that I want to talk about is the surprise, the added bonus that I'm going to start the show with on why Florida State is more of a title contender than what I even thought prior to today when I did some research. Did you know that Florida State's schedule pretty much couldn't be set up any better? And if you'd have told me that 24 hours ago, I'd have looked at you sideways. And here's why. With Florida bombing and with Clemson obviously having issues and with the way the schedule sets up, Florida State doesn't have any back-to-back games that should be very difficult for their season in general. Now, Florida's not in the ACC, but that game matters. You can overlook opponents in your conference while you look towards a rivalry game. By the point that the Gators host the Noles on November 29th, do we really think Billy Napier is going to be the head coach of the Gators? Do we really think that's going to be a viable threat to Florida State? The way it's trending, I would say no. Now, we'll find out more about them. This coming weekend, they got to go to Baton Rouge. Good luck at LSU. But that game is also the weekend after Florida State plays a Friday. I hate these Friday night games at NC State. That's a game that could be critical for Florida State to make it to the ACC title game. Plus, we're going to break down the schedule in general. But again, you got Miami. You don't have a game right after it that I get worried about losing necessarily. It's Pittsburgh. It's possible. But would you rather play Pitt after Miami or would you rather play Clemson? There's no other game that is sandwiched together on this schedule. And when I originally looked at it, like the Virginia Tech game, it was between the at Clemson game and the at NC State game. I don't know if anybody saw, here's the other just tremendous bonus for Florida State. And I'm not picking on Virginia Tech, but it's true. I went and watched the highlights. They were up 20-10 on Vanderbilt at halftime in Lane Stadium in Blacksburg. And then they were outscored 34-0 in the second half against Vanderbilt. Now, Vanderbilt, Clark Lee's done a great job there. Diego Pavia, the run game, they got a pretty good running back. Their defense was getting after it with blitzes. But Virginia Tech, it's the same deal that's going on in Gainesville. Pry, the head coach at Virginia, that's over. Dunzo. Absolutely over with. Florida State, that was one of the games I had circled to like, oh man, timing of that game is terrible. It's probably going to be a noon kickoff or something. It's going to be a lazy game in between two games that are tough. I worry about that. So again, if that is true, do we really think that Virginia Tech is going to be bought in? That game is November 15th. I will be very surprised at the current schedule that Virginia Tech is on, this pace, if he is the head coach of the Virginia Tech Hokies. Like, they're awful. So if these little added extras on the schedule change things, yeah, you got to be good and you got to handle what you can. But it's a really nice added bonus when the schedule works out where you're not going to just be looking forward to Florida. You're not going to just be looking ahead NC State, etc. All these games, the way they play together, Florida State's schedule works out better than I thought. Now, Pittsburgh's still a decent program, and Florida State can't just take them lightly the week after Miami. To me, that's the biggest trap game left on the schedule. Win or lose against Miami, it is very difficult to be up just as much, no matter the opponent, your next game. Pittsburgh should catch their attention to a certain degree. They're a solid team, but I'd rather play them again than I would Clemson or something like that, which is another super emotional game back-to-back. That's tough. They don't have to do that. They don't have Florida that weekend. They don't play a road game, anything else. The way Florida State's schedule sets up, I really like it. The Virginia game is even a nice warm-up for the Miami contest. It's a Friday night game, so you get an extra day. And Virginia's solid. They're not great, but they're solid. If Florida State can't be focused for that, they don't deserve to beat Miami or Clemson or anybody else. The way their schedule starts, and again, just take this for what it's worth, the biggest bonus and the biggest added extra for why Florida State has a great chance to win the ACC is how the schedule falls. Now, I'm going to go into all the reasons Florida State's earned it as well, but this is something you can't control. Nice added bonus, and I'll take it. Anytime your schedule works out in your favor, thumbs up, man. Thumbs up. So I'm very happy about the way it worked. And originally, I wasn't so sure. You're never going to have a perfect schedule, but they've got a lot of the good things going on for them. Secondarily, and this is something I mentioned on the show for early Wednesday morning, Florida State has several players banged up right now. It's football. But it's just ironic, and these things tend to go in runs. It's a lot of skill position guys on offense. Here are a few of them that are banged up, that at least that I know of. There's always more. But Randy Pittman, he's not expected to play till at least Virginia, maybe Miami is kind of what I'm thinking. Landon Thomas, he's playing, but not a lot. They're not going to use him much against Kent State. Squirrel White, he has the thumb. We need to see what happened with that. Is it broke? Is it sprained? All that. I want to hear something definitive from Squirrel before I believe anything from coaches or anything else. I know how this works. But he's not needed against Kent State. He did leave. It's concerning, but there's time. You got an off week this weekend. Then you got Kent State. Then it's the game in Charlottesville, Virginia against the Cavaliers. I think they'll be okay without him, although I would like him working reps, no doubt about it, with Tommy Castellanos. Then you got Wayne McCoy. He's been working with the team. I wouldn't be surprised if he took some of the reps this week against Kent State to get him in the flow when they play not this weekend, but the weekend after against Kent State. He's getting back into it. That's helpful. BJ Gibson and some of these other guys too, the younger guys. And then finally, Rodell Williams was expected to be one of the workhorses in the running back room. He should be back, barring something unforeseen, again, for Virginia and or Miami, whichever game it is that he'll come back. That's a lot of skill talent. And Florida State's scoring over 50 points a game as it is. They should be really, really good there. When we come back, we're going to continue on. People are underestimating Florida State being a legitimate ACC title contender. I listened to some podcasts in different places, really not hearing much about it. Your Noles are being undervalued. We're going to talk about it more here on Locked On Seminoles. Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride, and its top safety picks for their awards all through this year so far, as of August, is tops in the industry. From footwork to breath work to athletes sweating all over the details, Mazda brings the same intention in how they do everything with crafting every model, every car, and you just feel all the craftsmanship in every detail, all the metallic accents available with Napa leather across the board. Like our players, sweat with every detail, because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. This show is also brought to you by our friends at DoorDash. This is a very fun time of year. Get you some DoorDash, hang out and watch all the games. It's a blast. And it's almost the weekend again. It's time to look at this week's MVP, who delivered, powered by DoorDash, just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more time for you and getting your food right there for the game. So for me, I've talked about this. Deuce Robinson was the MVP for the Florida State Seminoles. Really don't think it's any shock that I'm going with that. I believe it was 160 yards of receptions and a couple of scores, including the one-handed grab against East Texas A&M. He was absolutely tremendous, and he deserves a lot of credit for the Noles. So if you really want to have a good time this coming weekend, watch college football across the board, use DoorDash. DoorDash Streaks will give you up to $250 all year if you keep using it. including a possibility to get in on a $100 DoorDash credit. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo code is good through November 18th. Thank you once again for making Locked On Seminoles a part of your day each and every day here on the Locked On Podcast Network. I am Brian Smith, all-time college football recruiting analyst, talking about your Noles being undervalued today because with the start they've had, and I broke down some of the stats on the last podcast, and I'll go over a few again today. I've still got them up here on my sheet. There's no reason that Florida State should not be given more respect for a possibility of being an ACC title contender. This team is focused, it is physical, and it is absolutely congruent. And that's what I'm going to talk about next. If you think about Florida State last year, what were the two worst positions? There are many to choose from, but what were the two that you went, man, this is as bad as it gets on the squad? For me, it was O-line and quarterback, and I really don't think it's all that debatable. Well, this year, let's start with the offensive line. It's a completely different deal. Like last season, it's got a ton of experience and transfers, but that group never gelled whatsoever. And a few of the younger guys that got a chance to play just were thrown into the fire, and it was a hodgepodge, moving guys around every week. It never came together at all. It was bad. This year, they bring in more transfers, but guys like Pettis from Ole Miss, Pettibone from Wake Forest, they've just figured it out, and they've been very consistent. Medway's talked about that in a press conference this week for Florida State. Talked about how they get along and how they see things together and how they work well together. It's been amazing. You got to give them credit. And on top of that, they've worked well with the other position that's the most important on the gridiron and probably in sport, the quarterback. Tommy Castellanos seems to be in sync with the run game, with their line calls, and just how comfortable he is inside the pocket when he's attempting to throw a pass. It's obvious. The eye test will tell you that, and so do the numbers. By the way, for those of you that missed it on Wednesday's show, here's a stat, a couple of them actually, that are mind-blowing. After last year being so abysmal at even trying to throw a forward pass, literally, check this stat out. Florida State is number one in the nation in passing plays of 40 or more yards. Number one. They were number two in the nation of passing plays of 30 or more yards. That's a great way to win football games. When you hit explosives, and it starts with the line giving the protection, and then Tommy has to deliver, that is a great way to win. So again, Florida State has really, really done a great job. And then the other thing that I want to talk about before I go any further, and this is something I hope I talk about on almost every podcast between now and the end of the season, Florida State's physicality. Just talked about the offensive line. They're not always just overwhelming everybody. The other team gives out scholarships too, but they win critical matchups. They're clutch. When they need a yard, they get a yard and a half. When they need two, they get 2.5. They're winning short yardage. Further, they're winning short yardage even when it was Alabama. They ran for 230 yards. Florida State's third downs so far this year, they're 16th in the nation, 57.7%. I'll take that all day. Anything over 45% is like, okay, you're doing really, really well. Florida State has figured it out with the play calling too. They bought into Gus Malzahn's scheme, that blend between him and Norvell. They have similar thoughts. All the motions and the reverses and stuff are really the biggest difference. Gus is a little bit more dynamic with what he's trying to do, but it's still the same principle. The players have meshed together, and they're making explosives, as I talked about with the passing game, off pretty basic running plays, and then putting in a few things to catch teams off guard when they start to really hone in on outside zone or inside zone, whatever. Florida State has a counter to it and catches the opponent flat-footed. Those explosives are a lot of fun, including the Mekhi Danzy reverses. Like, that's as exciting as it gets because that guy is shot out of a cannon. Another great reason for Florida State, by the way, just adding it in here, is the play calling. Gus has done a really good job. He should be up, by the way, just for the record, along with Tony White, for that matter, for National Assistant Coach of the Year. Both of them should be up for awards the way they've taken over the units they represent and done a great job. Let's not forget that. Also, just system fit in general. The system that Gus brought in, again, it mashes and it punches you in the mouth and all that. And there's jet sweeps and all. There's a lot of different things. All of that together, though, you got to remember, him and Norvell were together. Norvell's first gig was with him. And key here, everybody else on the staff has bought in too. It's not just players. The staff has bought in. I didn't know if that was going to happen. Running back coach doesn't have to do that. Who knows? Maybe Tim Harris, even though he came from UCF, maybe he wanted to throw the ball a little more because they had more receivers. I don't know. But it doesn't seem to be a problem anywhere. That stuff matters. And on defense, same deal. Surtain and Cooper, how are they going to work together? It's obvious it's pretty good. The ball's not going over the secondary's head. The mesh between the players and coaches has been good. And really, the coaches across the board for Florida State has been very, very good. It's impressive, and I don't think that we could discount how important that is any way, shape, or form and be realistic. That is vital. If you're going to win the ACC, make a run in the college football playoff, congruency. I'll talk about that a lot too, along with physicality. Very, very much a part of the equation. And now for something that I think is very, very surprising. I'm going to talk about this to end the show. We're going to talk about a couple of teams that are down. Like I mentioned, Virginia Tech. That's like, I don't know what's going on there. Again, they were outscored 34-0 at home in Lane Stadium against Vanderbilt this last weekend. But is the schedule going to wear Florida State out? And is it as difficult at the top end as we thought? That is next on Locked On Seminoles. The NFL season is almost here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet $5, and if it wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. So if you love using the opportunity to bet on over-unders, player props, halftime scores, or maybe it's a parlay, whatever it may be, FanDuel is there. And if you got $5 down, you win your first bet, you've got an extra $300 to use on the FanDuel app, however you see fit. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by using FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. This show is also brought to you by Monarch Money. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you could end up leaving money on the table. That's why there's Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal financial tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. If you put off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see all your data, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. If you want to do everything and make it more convenient for yourself, Monarch Money can do that, and it can make it more congruent so you can save some time too. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off of your first year at monarchmoney.com. Use code LOCKEDONCollege. The last point that I want to make about why Florida State has a very good chance to win the ACC is twofold on the same point. Number one, Clemson's not as good as anybody thought they were going to be. That's safe. It's almost unthinkable. A ton of seniors on the offensive line, seniors, juniors, fifth-year seniors, etc. They're not running the ball well. Matter of fact, I want to look that up while I'm thinking of it. And they're also, this is mind-blowing, they're just not very clutch. They were up 10-3, I believe it was, against LSU. They didn't even score on their home field in the second half. Now, LSU's good, but they just shut them down running the ball. They can't run it against quality competition. They were down 16-0 against Troy. And here's a bonus on top of it. Let's say Florida State, just for the sake of the argument, let's say the Noles lose in Death Valley. That would be unfortunate, but Clemson, the way they're playing, do you really think they're going to run the ACC slate and take Florida State out of it? I don't. They're going to have at least one, if not two, slip-ups. Their offense is just not in sync. I don't know what's going on with Garrett Riley's offense, but there's something goofy there, and I cannot place my finger on it. But when teams get to that point where not only are they not running the ball well, their body language is not where it needs to be. And I'm not trying to be mean, but holy cow, Clemson is atrocious at running the ball. They're even worse than I thought. Clemson is 128th in the nation. They're averaging 75.5 yards a game. Now, LSU's got guys up front. Dominic McKinley in particular is a future first-round pick at D tackle. Okay. But 75.5 yards, and you've played Troy as your second game? Florida State is going to win the rushing battle in that game. I think it's fairly safe to say. And most of the time in big games, that's the team that wins. Just saying. If Florida State plays Clemson and they lose, they're going to have to shoot themselves in the foot more than likely. Right now, I would probably take Florida State because I don't trust Clemson. I don't trust Clemson at all. Something is really, really wrong. And again, even if they did, do you think that they're not going to have at least one, if not possibly two losses? Like, it's not out of the realm. They lose a couple other games. Like, this team is goofy. They've had some receivers banged up. That doesn't help, but they're not the same. And talking about the running game, here's the other thing. Clemson's rushing defense is not where it should be. And I'm being kind. They've got conservatively 3 guys, I believe it is, that will end up being drafted. And we'll see where that goes. But right now they're 40th in rush defense, 93 yards. They gave up some key plays to LSU. And LSU's not a very good running offense at all. But I need to see Clemson against a Florida State offense that is going to give you jet sweeps. It's going to have Mekhi Danzy involved, and it's going to have Jalen Lucas involved, Rodell healthy. And, of course, Tommy is the ultimate concern because in a game like that, they'll give him 12-plus carries. There's no reason for me to believe that you're going to see Florida State struggle offensively the way I think Clemson is going to struggle against Florida State because the Noles might be able to make them one-dimensional. If you're one-dimensional against a Tony White defense, it's going to be rough because it's hard enough to figure out where everybody's coming from in general, but they have not faced his defense yet. It's not like they saw him last year, etc. It's going to be hard enough. So with them struggling running the ball too, yeah, I don't like Clemson very much at all right now compared to where they should be. And I'm not saying they can't fix it, but that's the ultimate bonus if that continues. Because, like, if you can win the game at Clemson, that means 2 of your 3 remaining opponents are not living up to their talent level. Florida obviously being the other, but that's not an ACC game. My only concern with them and why I brought them up earlier, it's the game after you play NC State. And if you look past NC State, you can lose. I'm not too sure they're all that concerned about Florida the way they're playing. It's still going to be a rivalry game and all that. But again, I think Napier's going to get canned. We'll see. And probably I think it'll happen between now and before the Georgia game for those that are curious. UF has a bye before they play Georgia in Jacksonville. So that will be interesting. So the last point, just to throw it out there, and this is something that was sorely needed last year too, the turnovers are coming. The turnovers are coming. We've been talking about Florida State's defense playing the run, being more congruent. When you do things consistently, it's inevitable that the ball is going to bounce your way a little bit more. Maybe a few more opportunities for picks. Jerry had a nice pick against East Texas A&M, but they're coming. It should start to take place against Kent State, and I'm really interested in the game at Virginia. That's a FBS opponent, P4. They're not great by any means. Malachi Fields is now at Notre Dame. He's not at Virginia, so that's a receiver you don't have to worry about. But they're still not terrible, and they play decent. They're decent. If Florida State starts creating 1 to 2 turnovers a game and averages, let's just use an easy number here, 1.5 turnovers created per game, how many games did the Noles lose between now and the end of the season? They got 10 games left. 1, maybe 2. You know, you can lose Miami. You could lose to Clemson. You could lose to Florida, NC State. All of these games are still possible. I get it. But if they get to the point where they're consistently at 1.5, maybe even more turnovers, and they're due, the Noles are an even better ACC title contender than what they're being given credit for. I'm going to end on that because I think it's a very, very important point. Turnovers are coming for the Florida State Seminoles. In short fields with Gus's offense, the ability to go up top. He does a great job on sudden change, by the way. I know that from covering Gus when he was at UCF. Sudden change comes, he's got a playlist like for that. When there's that shock moment, the defense goes on the field, whether it's a reverse, whether it's a special running play they haven't used, getting the quarterback out on the edge where he can make a big play. He has sudden change plays available. That's coming too for the Florida State Seminoles. Thank you once again for making Locked On Seminoles your first listen each and every day here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Truly appreciate you stopping in to get all your latest Noles news. We will see you again tomorrow morning. Take care.